It happens in under 4 seconds. A USB drive, barely the size of a thumb, slides into an unattended workstation in a federal contractor facility outside Arlington, Virginia. No password, no biometric scan, no alarm, just a soft click. And somewhere in a basement server room, 17 floors below, the National Security Agency's Northeast Operations Hub, a door opens that was never meant to be found. Within 72 hours, automated alerts fire across 14 federal agencies. Within a week, the man who plugged in that drive is gone. Who was he? And did he even know what he'd done? Marcus Webb was 43 years old. He'd worked the night shift at Keller Vance Solutions, a mid-tier federal IT contractor, for 6 years. Before that, he drove trucks. Before that, he did 2 years at a community college studying electrical engineering before the money ran out. Smart man, quiet man, invisible man. That's the word his coworkers would use later. Invisible. He knew every hallway in that building, every locked door, every break room shortcut, every security guard's coffee routine. He worked from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. He cleaned executive offices, server-adjacent corridors, and restricted access hallways, spaces that required badge clearance. He'd been grandfathered into years ago when the building changed contractors, and nobody updated the access list. Nobody thought to ask why a janitor had level 3 corridor access. Nobody thought about Marcus Webb at all. And that, as federal investigators would later conclude, was precisely the point. It was a Tuesday. Marcus was walking from his car to the building entrance. Same route, same time, same everything, when he saw it, a USB drive, sitting in the middle of the lot like someone had just dropped it. He picked it up. Later, under questioning, Marcus said he thought it belonged to one of the engineers. Maybe someone important had lost something important. He figured he'd plug it in, see if there was a name on it, and leave it at the front desk. That was it. That was the whole thought. He didn't go home and research it. He didn't tell anyone. He walked to a workstation in a second-floor hallway, a machine that an IT contractor had left unlocked before a bathroom break, and never came back to. And he plugged it in. The screen flickered. A loading icon spun for 3 seconds. Then nothing. No files opened. No name appeared. The drive seemed empty. Marcus shrugged, pocketed it, and went back to mopping. But the drive was not empty. What Marcus couldn't see was what happened next. The moment that drive made contact with Keller Vance's internal network, it executed a dormant payload, a piece of code so elegantly constructed that 3 separate cybersecurity firms would later spend months trying to fully reverse engineer it. It didn't steal data immediately. It listened. It mapped the network topology. It identified connected nodes. It found the invisible bridges between Keller Vance's servers and 3 government subnetworks the company serviced, including one that sat 1 layer away from a classified DoD logistics platform. By 4 a.m., the payload had sent its first signal out. By Thursday morning, an NSA network analyst named Priya Chandran flagged an anomalous data packet, tiny, almost undetectable, pinging an IP address registered to a dormant shell company in Latvia. She almost dismissed it. She didn't. That decision changed everything. Within 48 hours, a joint FBI-NSA task force was quietly activated. No press, no official statement, just 12 people in a room with no windows, trying to figure out how a classified federal subnetwork had just sent a handshake to Eastern Europe. They didn't know about Marcus yet. Marcus, meanwhile, had forgotten about the drive entirely. The investigation moved fast. Network logs traced the breach to the unlocked workstation. Badge access logs identified every person within proximity of that terminal between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. One name stood out immediately, not because Marcus Webb was suspicious, but because he had no reason to be near that workstation at all. When investigators pulled the parking lot camera footage, they saw something that made the room go quiet. 3 hours before Marcus arrived for his shift, a figure in a dark jacket had crouched near the storm drain at the far end of the lot. He placed the USB drive on the ground. He stood. He looked at the building entrance once, and he walked away. The drive was not dropped. It was placed. This was a technique known inside intelligence circles as a baited drop, a social engineering exploit so old, so simple, and so devastatingly effective that studies had shown nearly half of people who find an unknown USB drive will plug it in within 24 hours. The payload wasn't designed for Marcus. It was designed for whoever picked it up. The target was never a person. It was a gap, a human gap, an unlocked terminal, an unmonitored corridor, and a man invisible enough that no one would notice until it was too late. Foreign intelligence hadn't hacked the Pentagon. They'd used a janitor's curiosity to do it for them. Federal agents arrived at Marcus Webb's apartment on a Friday morning. The door was unlocked. His phone was on the kitchen counter. His wallet was there. His car was still in the building lot. Marcus was not there. No signs of struggle. No note. No farewell call to his sister in Baltimore, the only family he had. He had simply stopped existing. The task force split immediately. One team treated it as witness elimination, a foreign asset tying off a loose end. Another theory, Marcus had been approached, threatened, or bought, that he knew more than the curious janitor narrative suggested. A third, quieter theory was filed and never officially confirmed, that Marcus Webb had been quietly extracted, not by foreign actors, but by someone domestic, someone who didn't want a public trial, someone who didn't want the world to know exactly how many unlocked terminals existed in how many federal contractor hallways, across how many security-cleared facilities. Because if that story came out fully, the real scandal wasn't Marcus. It was the building that let him in. The formal investigation concluded 18 months later. The foreign payload was traced to an intelligence unit with known ties to a state-sponsored hacking collective operating out of 3 countries simultaneously. 2 people were quietly indicted under seal. No public trial. No names released. Keller Vance Solutions lost 2 federal contracts, was quietly restructured, and re-emerged under a different name 6 months later with most of the same staff. The NSA analyst who caught the anomaly received a commendation she was not permitted to discuss publicly. The unlocked workstation policy at federal contractor facilities was reviewed. The review produced a report. The report produced a recommendation. The recommendation was filed. Marcus Webb was never found. His sister gave one interview to a local Baltimore paper that most people never read. She said Marcus wasn't the kind of man who ran. She said he was the kind of man who stayed quiet and did his job and asked nothing of anyone. She said the last time she saw him, he seemed fine, just tired, the way he always was.